Alright, switching over now. Alright, this thing's a little hesitant to switch over. Alright, I think we're live.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Paleontologizing. My name's Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. Doing something a little bit out of the ordinary today, I suppose. I'm here at the Brea tar pits with Laurdee.
Hi, I'm Laurdee from Cooking with Laurdee. Usually I'm doing cooking content out of my home, but today I'm on this awesome road trip with Danny and we are visiting the Brea tar pits.
Yeah, we're approaching the end of our trip. We've made it back to California. We're in Los Angeles right now. We're actually in the midst of downtown LA, which is pretty cool actually. But let me turn this around and I'll show you over here. We've got this really neat diorama with some Colombian mammoths. It's kind of a famous tableau right here. Trying to show you through the fence. Not quite tall enough to show you over the fence without way overextending the camera, but well, we'll see. We can bring chat back up again. But yeah. Anyway, oh, and holy cow, Galen Rohr, thank you for those 5 gift subs.
Oh, wow.
Starting the stream off right. This is awesome. Come on over here into the shade and we'll say hello to everybody who's here.
Just changed things with those 5 gift subs.
We'll go ahead and get this started. Let's see who we've got right now. Whoa, there's some big bubbles over there.
Yeah.
That was cool. And let's see. Phoenix, good to see you. Wrong Lane Zoe, how are you doing? Welcome to Paleontologizing. Who else have we got here? Yell up if you're here and you'd like a greeting. Oh, this is where it starts. Okay.
We got Claire and Belinda.
Hey, Claire, how you doing? Belinda, good to see you too. Glad you're here. And let's see. Oh, and I'm sorry, Wrong Lane Zoe, that you had to miss the Grand Canyon. It is an amazing thing to go visit, so I hope you get another chance someday. Hopefully sometime soon. Dino Mama, good to see you. Audrey the Titan, welcome to Paleontologizing. I'm not sure if I've seen you here before. I've been not as attentive to chat as I would like to be on this trip, given that we're outside looking at all kinds of cool stuff. By the way, for anybody who might just be tuning in, maybe for the first time, Laurdee and I have been on this road trip for, well, you joined me in Bozeman. Well, let me tell you how it's gone so far. I left Oakland, California, when would that have been? July?
Like the 15th or 16th, something like
that? I think that's about right. Yeah, like July 14th, something like that. And went through Nevada, went through Utah, visiting dinosaur museums and fossil sites along the way and streaming from there. Went up through Wyoming into Montana. I was at the Dino Shindig in Ekalaka, Montana, with a bunch of other paleontologists, did some live streaming from there, and then met Laurdee and Ios in Bozeman. They flew in and joined me at Museum of the Rockies and at the American Computer Museum.
Yeah.
That was a ton of fun. And then Ios flew back to Oakland so that she could attend to her duties at Twitch. That's where she works, writing code. And Laurdee is stuck with me.
Yeah.
We've gone back down through Idaho and Utah and Colorado, Arizona, and now we're here in Southern California, making our way back up to the Bay Area. We've got just a few days left on this trip, but really glad that you could join us today at the Brea tar pits. Now, Brea tar pits, that's kind of redundant when you say it, because Brea is Spanish phrase for the tar. So, yeah, it would be the tar pits. Anyway, unfortunately, the museum is closed today. It's closed every Tuesday, and that just happens to be the day that we're passing through. But there's still a lot of cool stuff to see on the grounds here in Hancock Park, which is just outside of the museum. There's the museum right over there, the George C. Page Museum of La Brea Discoveries. But here is actually one of the pits right here. It's pretty rare that you have a fossil museum that's actually on the site of the fossil discovery. But here in downtown LA, you can see this is downtown LA. We've got Tall buildings all around us here. That's Wilshire Boulevard right there. Kind of a main thoroughfare here in this part of the city. But yeah, just a few thousand years ago, we had these magnificent mammalian megafauna tromping around doing their thing. There's a big old beetle. That is really cool. Hey, beetle friend, what are you? Holy moly. You're beautiful. Let me see if I can get you on my hat. Does anybody in chat know a thing or two about beetles?
Ooh.
Wow, that was cool.
That's a pretty one.
Very, very pretty. My goodness. We got pretty lucky right there. I feel like that's a good omen for the stream. But yeah, just a few thousand years ago, as I adjust our microphone here.
We have our first question.
Oh, we do?
We do. Which
okay,
is
let's get into it.
How deep are the tar pits?
It depends. Yeah. Again, I just want to give a disclaimer right here at the beginning. I am not a paleontologist who works on Pleistocene stuff. I work on dinosaurs. Most of my work has been in the Cretaceous period, about 66 million years before all of this stuff. This is all really, really recent. The mammoths and ground sloths and saber-toothed cats that got stuck in the tar happened only a few thousand years ago. The actual tar pits themselves, I think they range in depth. Some of them are 10 feet below ground level here. Some of them are about 30 feet below. From what I understand. Again, I don't actually work on this stuff. But they are right here in the park. We were actually walking around over here. There's spots where you can see this tar kind of coming up to the surface. And again, tar is kind of a misnomer. It's not tar, it's actually liquid asphalt. So the reason why we have, tar pits here in the middle of Los Angeles is because this is actually a natural oil seep. There is petroleum coming up from the ground. This whole area here is known as the Great Salt Lake Oil Seep, I believe, or Great Salt Lake Oil something or other. You can look it up. There are some wonderful Wikipedia articles about this area and about the pits themselves. But yeah, this is a naturally occurring phenomenon. Oil's probably been coming up here for about 100,000 years. And as long as that's been happening, there have been these really big, cool mammals walking around doing their thing, including these Columbian mammoths here. A very dramatic display. Check that out.
We have another question.
Uh-huh.
Is it only Dinosaur National Monument and La Brea that are museums on a dig site?
No, there's a bunch of others, actually. Let me think. The new Jurassic National Monument, the Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry in Cleveland, well, it's in Utah. I forget what town it's near. That's another on-site one. There's Berlin Ichthyosaur State Park in Nevada. There is in the Connecticut River Valley, there are some really cool dinosaur tracks, which I think have some stuff on site. And then there's Petrified Forest National Park, and a bunch of other places. Yeah. The U.S. has actually been surprisingly good at preserving some fossil sites. Something to be proud of. Yeah. We still ought to do more of it, most certainly. But yeah. There's another, as far as I know, the only national park to ever be closed permanently and dismantled, also was a fossil site. I wonder if anybody in chat happens to know this one. An interesting bit of trivia. But yeah, it's a really sad story, actually. But yeah, let me know in chat if you're familiar with that one. Let me go ahead and... Yeah, the Minnesota in South Dakota. Yeah, Shawty88. Yes, there's a number of fossil pits. There was one is it Nebraska? There's the Ashfall fossil site with all those ancient rhinoceroses that died in an ashfall. Yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah. Come to think of it, there's quite a few, which is really awesome. Yeah.
Are the tar pits changing, moving, or stationary?
Changing or moving, not too much. I wouldn't say that they're in constant motion or anything.
Wow, it's not the dinosaur.
I mean,
just look at that thing.
There's a big reservoir of oil underneath us right now, and sometimes it kind of bubbles up to the surface, I say sometimes, I mean like, we're talking about over the course of centuries, That's the time scale we're talking about here. But yeah, I don't know. This stuff has been here for 100,000 years. We're really lucky that this park has remained relatively undeveloped in the midst of downtown LA like this. This is from a place called Rancho La Brea, which was, a ranch way back in the day in the 1800s. And luckily, the landowner there, I believe his last name was Hancock. That's what Hancock Park, where we're in, is named after. He decided to deed the land to the city of Los Angeles, and to make sure that all of the discoveries at this site, would remain in the public domain. All these fossils would be available for study by scientists and could be enjoyed by the public. So, yeah, hats off to Mr. Hancock there. He really did us a solid. Yeah.
We got 5 months from Noodling 77.
Thank you, Noodling 77. I really appreciate that.
Hello, Daniel.
Thanks for your support.
And David Accounting, too, for 11 months.
Thank you very much, David Accounting. Good to see you, by the way. I'm glad you're here. Glad you could join us.
Any big differences between a fossil in tar matrix versus dirt?
Yes and no. Mostly yes. Here, let's go over here and we'll talk about that in the shade. So I've actually worked with some of the fossils from here at La Brea. I think prior to 1913, when it was decided that all of the fossils should remain here at the site. Before, they used to be distributed around to different museums and other places. So we had a bunch of these fossils in Berkeley at the Museum of Paleontology. A lot of them are actually housed in the overflow storage within Sather Tower, the big clock tower on campus. That's full of fossils from La Brea. Pretty cool. Anyway, those are often what we call subfossils. They're not like fossils that, your typical fossils from sedimentary strata where they're permineralized. They are partly turned to stone by the action of groundwater and stuff like that. They're chemically altered. The fossils here, subfossils, whatever you want to call them, they are a little bit different. They don't necessarily have their organic components replaced by minerals in the groundwater or anything like that. I think you still have a lot of the original organic material in these bones. So they've been kind of preserved by the tar, but they haven't been turned to stone in the same way. Turned to stone in the way that you typically think of fossils as being permineralized like that. Yeah. I hope that answers your question. I wish we had somebody who works here to talk to us about that, because I have so many questions too. Again, this is outside of my wheelhouse. So yeah. What do you say we walk over there, Laurdee, and we get another angle of these mammoths?
Okay, yeah.
Over there.
I have a couple questions.
You do?
This place.
Yeah.
What's with the bubbles?
What's with the bubbles?
I'm not sure if chat can see the bubbles.
Let's see if we can get to a spot where you can spot some of these bubbles. Occasionally you'll get a really big one that comes up. We'll go over here past the fence.
Probably you said about them was really interesting, but I want to.
Yeah. I just learned about that too, and doing a little bit of reading before we got here. There's one right there. You see that? Big ripples coming up.
There's one bubble in.
Yeah, over
right
there.
in the middle.
Mm-hmm. So, apparently, this is something that I just learned recently, and this is all based on recent research. Big bubbles over there. There is a team of scientists from UC Riverside who were looking at bacteria growing in here, and they discovered there's a big bubble over there. Between 200 and 300 new species of bacteria right here at La Brea that have never been found anywhere else. And these will feed on the petroleum. They actually feed on, that crude oil that seeps up there. And then in metabolizing it, they produce methane as a waste gas. And that is what you see in those bubbles over there. Methane is like a colorless, odorless gas, natural gas. And you might be thinking, well, methane's really smelly, right? That's only the natural gas that you have at home, like that you get from the gas company. They actually add stuff to it in order to make it smell kind of funny, so that you'll know if there's a gas leak. But in its natural state, methane does not have any color or odor. And those are the bubbles that you see cropping up right there, are from that methane. That's a waste gas from the bacteria that are feeding on the petroleum there. Really cool. Really, really cool. And Nana Tirana, it's good to see you. I hope you're having a good day. Welcome back. Yeah.
Are the remains found in liquid tar, or is the tar around it hardened into black glass/rock?
Great question. Yeah, it is hardened, and we'll actually see some big crates over there that have been removed, just like big blocks of like solid hardened tar that's waiting to be excavated by paleontologists here at the Page Museum. Yeah, I love this diorama. I mean, it is sad, but it's illustrative of how some of these animals came to be here. These are Columbian mammoths here, like the same one, Laurdee, that we saw at the museum in Idaho Falls.
Oh yeah.
Remember that big mammoth?
The big one.
Yeah. Same species, Mammuthus columbi. These are one of two mammoth species that we have from La Brea, if I remember correctly. Mammuthus columbi, the Columbian mammoth, and Mammuthus primigenius, the woolly mammoth. I think we have woolly mammoths from here too. Not 100% certain. I know they're the more rare of the two if they are present. Yeah, let's continue on.
Can we talk for a minute about the smell?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. So, something that just kind of like hits you in the face when you get here is the smell. How would you describe it, Laurdee?
You might say.
It's very
That trunk is completely covered with thin, bony plates.
tangy.
Tangy?
Yeah, kind of like a... I don't know, I can't smell it just this second because we just got a breeze. It's almost tangy, like a yogurty kind of...
Interesting.
I don't know, but mixed with like a gassy or like the kind of smell you get with like a glue or a
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. I would just say it smells like asphalt, like road
asphalt,
construction. Yeah. Maybe
I was going for something a little bit more abstract, Danny.
I mean, it is liquid asphalt. This is petroleum mixed with sand. That's what asphalt, like at its simplest, is made out of. And
Okay.
we're walking along here right now.
Float up to the top if they're in tar.
They don't.
How are they found in the first place?
That's a great question. So, here, we'll kind of walk you through and bring you back over here so you can see these mammoths while we're talking. So, in this spot, there has been liquid asphalt here for tens of thousands of years. And so it's a lot of time for animals to walk by and get stuck. Sometimes there's water on top of it. Sometimes it looks like, it's covered by soil, so it just looks like regular dirt. But you stand in it for long enough, and you start to get stuck. You start to sink in. And so all of these animals over thousands of years are getting stuck in it, and then getting pulled down deeper and deeper, until, they kind of sink down to a natural stopping point, and then the tar around them kind of hardens. And you've got new oil seeping up, and then, forming this new fresh layer on top, so it just kind of accumulates over and over and over again like that. And so to actually dig the fossils out, to dig out these bones, you've got to find a spot where the tar is solid. And then basically you just dig through it with whatever tools that you have. And I've heard it is remarkably messy, and you just smell like asphalt for a whole week afterwards, after you've been digging in this stuff. It gets into your fingernails, it gets into all your pores. It's just a lot. And people used to go in there and dig by hand. I'm sure nowadays it's a little bit cleaner than that. I'm sure it's a little bit less slapdash. That's how scientific methods usually go. At the beginning, you're just kind of working hard and fast, and it's not super clean. Eventually you kind of figure things out, you work a lot more slowly, and it gets less messy. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Do we have any more before we continue on?
Javasaurus says, how would they excavate this to find the animals?
With 6-inch daggers.
Yeah, it gets solid, and then you just bring up the solid big chunks, big blocks, and you pick through those, and then you find this jumbled mass of bones in there. Not just bones, but also, insects that are preserved, and bits of plants, and pollen grains, and stuff like that. You get a lot of microfossils in there too, along with the bigger, kind of more charismatic animal bones.
Can we check out these classic California plants? Are these agave?
They might be agave or something related.
I just love them. They're just huge here.
Yeah,
They're
Yeah.
like almost as tall as me. And we all know that I'm like 8'3". So
Yeah. Pretty impressive, right?
they're pretty cool.
Yeah. They thrive in this climate.
How deep down is the tar pits before it's just rock mantle?
Rock mantle? I mean, it would be crust, yeah. Like, but I don't know. You might have to go down. I'm not really sure about that. Think of these as being like little naturally forming lakes and ponds that have a lot of tar in them, and then stuff gets stuck in them, especially as it gets drier, maybe. And like, this is one of the things that would attract animals to here in the first place, is that, you know, it might look like there's clean, beautiful water to drink right on top, and then you kind of walk into it and slosh around a little bit, and then you find that you're stuck. You know, say you're a Columbian mammoth and you do that, you get stuck. And then other animals, meat-eating animals, come after you. They want to eat you. So say you get dire wolves and saber-toothed cats, maybe an American lion or two. And then they come here to eat you because you're stuck, you can't get away, can't defend yourself. And then they get stuck too. And then it's just a natural kind of predator trap. You get one after another animal just coming in here to eat the dead animals, and then they get stuck too, and it's just a perpetuating cycle. It's why we have so many meat-eating animals from La Brea tar pits. The first most common is, of course, the dire wolf. We used to call it Canis dirus, but it's recently been reclassified into a new genus entirely. So I guess it's not particularly closely related to wolves. It would have looked like a big wolf, but yeah. And then second most common is the saber-toothed cat, if I remember correctly, Smilodon, our state fossil here in California. We'll see some Smilodon models over there as we continue the tour. And then after that, coyote, the La Brea coyote, Canis latrans, I forget the subspecies name. It's named after one of the people who is important to La Brea's history. I think it's named after the oil geologist who first discovered that the bones that came out of the tar pits here were not from modern animals. Because for a long time, people just assumed that these bones were from, like, you know, horses or cattle. They found big bones in here, and they're like, oh yeah, no big deal. We've got animals around here. It took an oil, like a petroleum geologist, I think working for Standard Oil, to say, like, no, these are actually something entirely different. These are prehistoric bones. These are from long, long ago. And, yeah. Anyway, the point that I was making is that meat-eating animals are the three most common things that we find here in the pits, because this was a natural predator trap. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll see more about that as we continue on and look at the signage.
Yeah, we have several questions.
Great, yeah.
Is it worth pumping all of the tar away, or is it a matter of keeping the site to preserve it?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Right here, we've got a few, like, still active pits in this area where you still have, like, the stuff bubbling up, and you've got, like, a lake here. This is called the lake pit behind us. But as we continue on, we'll show you some of the other places where the tar is much more solid, where this liquid asphalt is, like, you know, you could walk across it, and some other places where it's been dug up in big cubes and just set on top of the ground in boxes so that it can later be picked through and the bones can be taken out and it can be studied properly. Yeah, you'll see as we continue on.
Then is that the same stuff we use to make gasoline for our cars?
It is, yeah. This is crude oil over here. You know, if you know, like in cartoons when people strike oil, or like in the Beverly Hillbillies or something like that, this is the same kind of thing. You just have oil coming up from the ground, and that's what created the tar pits. So, yeah.
Peng 2021, which might be new, says, can you use ground-penetrating radar to find bones?
I don't think so. A, because we don't have the budget for it. That stuff's expensive. And B, because I don't think the bones are much different in density from the actual tar. But even if we could use it to find those, you know, you still have to dig it out. And it's like any big chunk of tar, a big chunk of liquid asphalt that you take out and excavate through, it's like, well, you've already got it there. You don't need that ground penetrating radar. You just need to pick through it. You'll see when I show you those big blocks that they've removed. I think it'll make a lot more sense. Yeah.
How is that mammoth statue in the tar pits without sinking down?
Because it floats.
Really?
Yeah. You can see it.
I didn't know.
You can see it drift in the wind a little bit. I'll take it down.
I was making that up. I thought I was
No.
going crazy.
No, it's floating there on the surface. Yeah. So, way over there. I'm not sure how well you can see it. But we'll go back around. But yeah, that's basically just, there's got to be a big pontoon or something underneath to keep it at just the right level. But it's floating there. It's got to be chained to the bottom, I suppose. Or something. Yeah.
Belky asks, so is that all tar? Is that water and the tar is underneath?
The water is on the surface and the tar, the water, this is mostly water and there's tar floating on the surface over there. Yeah. And there's also tar underneath. There's like oil slicks on the surface, but also if you go down deep enough, it's tar too. You would not want to try and walk across this because you probably would get stuck, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
And I think this sign over here might tell us a little bit about that.
We got 100 bits from paramedics underground.
Thank you, paramedics. Really appreciate that. Thanks for your support. There we go. Let's see here. Lake Pit, Viewing Station A. This lake fills a quarry where asphalt was mined during the 19th century. So this was an area where people would mine asphalt for making roads and stuff like that, or sealing roofs and that kind of thing. So the native people, I forget the two tribes that were in this area who would use the asphalt, but they would take that and they would line their boats with it. They had these beautiful canoes that were made out of multiple big planks, and then they would use the asphalt from here like pitch to fill in all the gaps and make these boats watertight. And then they could go all along the California coast with these. It was like some amazing maritime technology for the time, for this region. They could go all the way out to the Channel Islands, and it was a big deal. And they got it from right here, this asphalt. Anyway, the lake fills a quarry where asphalt was mined during the 19th century. After the quarry was abandoned, rain and groundwater seepage soon filled the excavated area. The surface oil slicks are composed of asphalt. This and the bubbles of natural gas, or methane, escape from fissures below the lake, which you see right here. So this is kind of a very stylized diagram of this. There's the surface oil slick right there. Crude oil and gas escape from fissures below the lake. And then you've got some really cool Pleistocene creatures right here. We'll talk about those in a bit. Life-size fiberglass models of a Columbian mammoth family stand at the east end of the lake. That's over there, like we were just saying. The mother has become trapped. Her mate and offspring watch helplessly. There is a life-size model of an American mastodon near the west end of the lake. And we'll go see him in just a couple minutes here. For thousands of years, here at Rancho La Brea, asphalt has seeped to the Earth's surface from an underlying oil field. These seeps become unique death traps for countless Ice Age mammals and birds, making Rancho La Brea the world's richest deposit of Ice Age fossils. Over 100 tons of fossil bones have been recovered from this site. That's pretty impressive. And this is not a particularly large area. I mean, this is certainly not the biggest park in LA. No. Not even close to it. And the richest Ice Age fossil deposit in the world. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, we're going to continue on this way.
Wait, what was that number? 100 metric tons?
100 tons. I don't know if those are metric or short tons. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we're going to go try and sneak along this way. Construction personnel only. I think we can still make it along that end over there. What do you think, Laurdee?
We might need to go around the other way.
Okay, I guess we'll go around the other way and see the mastodon.
I mean, if you really want to try, I'm always happy to follow you, but... It says construction personnel only on the sign.
It does. And we are not construction personnel. And you know what? That looks like it's closed off over there. So we'll take the long way around. But that's okay. This is a beautiful spot. This is really cool to be able to see. And again, this is a reminder of just how recent this stuff is. I mean, you still have asphalt bubbling up. These processes are still occurring. There are still creatures that are getting stuck in these pits. We might even see some remains of some. Who knows? But, yeah, I mean, just let this be a reminder of how recent this stuff is, you know? These mammoths that we see over here, these big fiberglass models, these are only from a few thousand years ago. Like, human beings saw these and lived alongside them for a while and may have actually hunted them to extinction. Like, might as well be last Thursday in terms of, you know, geologic time. This is super, super recent. And this is cool. You can actually see the asphalt over here. Look at that. All black and shiny like that. And you can see those oil slicks right up there on the surface. Those bubbles coming up. Very cool. Very, very cool. Oh, poor mama mammoth over there. Oh, and right here, periodically they have these little gates that are put up. This is where asphalt is coming to the surface, just right here in the middle of the lawn. I mean, look at that. That's,
A tar.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we call it tar. It's a colloquial term. More properly, it's liquid asphalt, but yeah, yeah. Pretty neat. Stuff's still going on. Alright, any more questions or anything?
Nope, not right now.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Poor baby mammoth. Just absolutely distraught. Can you see here through the bars, I hope? Oh. And yeah, see, she is floating. See how she moves a little bit in the wind? I'll try and hold the camera extra still. Yep. Pretty cool. It's funny, La Brea tar pits have been... They've been featured in a number of different movies. There was that Steven Spielberg movie. It was a comedy from like the early 80s or late 70s called 1941. It was an absolute flop. I think like hardly anybody knows about this movie. But they had the La Brea tar pits toward the end of the movie, but they had like big dinosaur models and stuff in them. So that was, you know, completely inaccurate. It shows that this place is... That's a big bubble over there. This place has entrenched itself in the popular imagination to the point where it appears in films, and somebody mentioned like a Looney Tunes cartoon and stuff earlier too. Yeah, yeah.
Is tar lighter than water?
Parts of it are. I mean, like... Because what is liquid asphalt but like petroleum with sand mixed in? So if it's particularly dense, it's going to be there at the bottom. But you'll have oil that comes up to the surface, and you see that floating around in there. So, yeah. Yeah. And sometimes I'm sure if you have enough of that on the surface, it can accumulate sticks and leaves and dirt and crud, and it might just look like solid ground. And then if you're, you know, a ground sloth or a mammoth not paying particularly good attention, you might get stuck. Or a bison or any other creature like that. This is cool. Imagining Ice Age LA. The Columbian mammoth sculptures installed here at the Lake Pit in 1968 reflect the interpretation of sculptor Howard Ball. Fossil studies and research at the Tar Pits Museum have since revealed more about how these mammoths lived and died. Our research keeps adding to our understanding of these and other fascinating Ice Age creatures. There is the Howard Ball. Oh, Howard Ball towed the male mammoth sculpture from his studio to here with his Volkswagen Bug. This is a famous photo. I've seen this in so many places before. It's a great image. I love that. And here they are. This is probably a pretty recent photo. Yeah, it says 2014. This is 1967 and 2014. So the sculptures show a mammoth family consisting of a male standing, a baby, and a female becoming trapped. What science tells us. Scientists believe that Columbian mammoths lived in female-led herds, with adult males living apart except for the mating season. Asian elephants, their closest living relatives, live this way now. So that would make a lot of sense. You know, you might not be able to actually find evidence for behavior in these animals' fossils, but you can look at their closest living relatives. In this case, Asian elephants are more closely related to mammoths than they are to African elephants, if I remember correctly. So these guys are kind of, yeah. Their sister taxon would be Asian elephants today.
Is it correct that female has that big of tusks?
Yeah, certainly. Columbian mammoths especially had enormous tusks. I think they've got the longest tusks of any proboscidean, any, elephant-type mammal that's ever lived. If I remember correctly, maybe Dinotherium had bigger tusks. I'm not sure. Again, not a mammal guy. But yeah. The sculpture shows the females wandered knee-deep into the lake, presumably to drink. Sticky tar concealed by several feet of water traps her there. Evidence from La Brea indicates that mammoths didn't have to wander into tar-filled lakes to become stuck. Just a few inches of goo could take them down. Oh, it's kind of disconcerting. The sculpture shows the female trumpeting in terror while the male stands helplessly on the shore. Most Columbian mammoths trapped at La Brea were males, not females. Sometimes scientists think this is because male mammoths typically lived on their own. They didn't have companions to yank them out of the tar. Very interesting. I'm sure with mammals, like these mammoths, it's much easier to tell who is male and female than with dinosaurs. Yeah. Part of that might be osteological. You might find a baculum. Proboscideans have baculums, right? Have baculae? I think they do.
Professor Boyd subbed for 3 months and says, love this channel.
Professor Boyd, thank you so much for your support. That means a lot to me. Yeah, awesome. All right, I like this sign here. It says, when mammoths walked on Wilshire. That's Wilshire Boulevard right there. Columbian mammoths lived right here during the last ice age. We call it the Ice Age because thick ice sheets covered parts of the globe and cooled the planet. Even parts that weren't ice-covered, like Los Angeles, were cooler than they are now. We study fossils found here to discover what survived and what went extinct during the Ice Age. So this is pretty cool. Mammoth losses and smaller survivors. I was telling Laurdee about this earlier, how when we're thinking about La Brea and we're thinking about this environment during the Pleistocene, just, say 15,000 years ago, we're not looking at like an entirely different environment from today. A lot of the creatures that we still have here in California also existed at the time. Really, we're kind of living in like a shadow of the Pleistocene world, where a bunch of these bigger creatures died out, either because of climate change or human overhunting or some combination of the two. But it's not like this is a difference in kind, it's only a difference of degree. You've got like the big charismatic animals died out, and what we're left with are kind of the dregs, I guess. So here, many large animals went extinct as the last ice age ended, including the Columbian mammoths, American mastodons, yesterday's camels, dire wolves, ground sloths, and saber-toothed cats. In contrast, hundreds of smaller animals like rabbits, rodents, birds, bats, coyotes, insects, and snails are still with us today. So yeah, Columbian mammoths, saber-toothed cats, yesterday's camel. I like how that has become the common name for this creature, yesterday's camel. That's probably Camelops, I think is the genus name. Harlan's ground sloth and the short-faced bear, all these guys died out. But the ones that we still have today are very familiar. These are things that we find here in the tar pits. I say we. I'm using the paleontological we, I suppose. Other paleontologists who work on this stuff, they find these critters here in the tar, and we still have them around today. Yeah. So you're standing just 30 feet from Wilshire Boulevard, where Columbian mammoths walked 20,000 to 40,000 years ago. Los Angeles was wetter, cooler, and greener when these 11-ton wonders lived and died here. Pretty cool. Yeah. Alright, you ready to move on? Ooh, big old bubble right there. Another big one. Did you see that? That's so cool. Alright, there's the actual museum right here, which unfortunately is closed today. I couldn't really avoid that. We were coming through LA this week. We're here today for the stream and it's closed. but we will be going to the Los Angeles County Museum tomorrow. It was kind of a choice between this and that, and I wanted to go to the museum that had dinosaurs for, like, you know, because I'm a dinosaur guy. So we'll be doing that tomorrow.
Dinosaur man.
There we go. Buried oil makes great goo. This lake is actually a pit left over from asphalt mining operations in the late 1800s. At that time, La Brea tar was mined to seal roofs and roads. I just talked about that. The pit has since collected rain and groundwater, creating this small lake. The lake's bubbles, sheen, and stink come from a deep underground oil field. This buried layer of oil also produces gooey patches of tar on the ground. Pretty neat. And this is called the lake pit. Oh, and here, laurdee, it talks about the smell a little bit. It says, what stinks? The rotten egg odor is hydrogen sulfide. It comes from the natural breakdown of hydrocarbon molecules in crude oil. I think that's probably done by these bacteria like we were talking about. That's a recent discovery.
Let's protect
it may have even been, the discovery may have been published after the creation of this sign.
Forever.
La Brea tar is actually asphalt, the lowest grade of crude oil. Asphalt is left over after crude oil's lighter components like kerosene have evaporated. I did not know that. That's interesting. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Amish Andy subbed for 2 months.
Oh, holy cow. Thank you, Amish. Really appreciate that. Thanks for supporting the channel. Yeah. I like this timeline here. Yeah?
Pork Chop sees you subbed with their Prime.
Thank you, Pork Chop. I really appreciate that. Wonderful. Thanks for the Prime sub. Hey, anybody who's watching right now, if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free and support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. I guess it cost Jeff Bezos something. So if you want to give me some of his money, I'd be very happy to receive it. Very appreciative. So, yeah. George Allen Hancock. This is the guy I was talking about. He used to own this land. He owned Rancho La Brea. Donated 23 acres of his family's ranch to the county of Los Angeles in 1924 for a public park. His goal? Protect these tar pits and their fossil treasure for future generations. From the 1870s to the early 1900s, 2 generations of the Hancock family operated asphalt mines and a ranch, and drilled oil wells, and safeguarded La Brea's fossils. So yeah, 55,000 to 10,000 years ago, tar traps animals. We were talking about that. Dire wolves, saber-toothed cats, sloths, camels, Columbian mammoths, and American mastodons. And more. You know, big condor-like birds, you've got bison, you've got, you know, short-faced bears, all kinds of cool stuff. In the 1870s, the asphalt mine operates.
Apocalypse just gifted 5 subs.
He had acquired part of the Rancho La Brea from Jose Jorge Roca. His family owned it as a Mexican land grant. And then, there we go. Geologist William Denton is the first to unlock La Brea's secret. At Major Hancock's request, he examines a fossil found at the lake pit. He determines that it belonged to an ancient animal, a saber-toothed cat. That's a different name than I remember reading elsewhere. The one that the La Brea coyote is named after?
We got 5 gift subs from Dork Apocalypse.
Thank you so much, Apocalypse.
And
wonderful. Really appreciate that. Yeah.
100 bits from 420 Nathan.
Thank you, Nathan. That's awesome. Thank you very much.
And Science with Belinth gave us 100 bits.
Thank you, Belinth. That's wonderful. Thank you very, very much. Have we got a hype train going or something?
And if we had
it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Kirsten, 100 bits.
Thank you, Kirsten. Wonderful. Really appreciate
We
that.
do have a level 3 hype train going.
Holy cow. Thank you, everybody. That's awesome.
Thanks, you guys. Your support means so much to us.
Seriously.
This trip, you know, hasn't been free, and so getting your support in addition to all of your awesome
helps a lot.
Have you guys hang out.
Yeah.
It helps a lot. It helps us create more content for you guys. So we really appreciate it. Thanks so much, everybody.
Yeah. Science outreach like this, you know, kind of doing it on the cheap, but it still costs money. I mean, the wireless data that I'm using right now to broadcast to you, it's like costs almost as much as my rent. So
it does.
I really appreciate your help with this, so we can bring this stuff to you live, you know?
It's Orca gave us 300 bits.
Thank you.
An
really
anonymous
appreciate
cheerer,
that.
100 bits.
Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Thank you
Fantastic.
so much for the support.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you guys.
Let's see how far this hype train gets. We might be up to a level 5. That would be awesome.
100%.
Subscription.
Holy cow.
Level
Dave
3
and
complete.
Accounting
Oh my gosh,
gifted
Dave and
a tier one
Accounting.
sub
Thank
to
you so much
Alcina
for the 3
Trapilum.
gift subs.
Beautiful. Thank you so much,
Really?
David Accounting.
Spared no
Awesome.
expense.
Yeah.
Dave
Oh,
and
we got
Accounting
another
gifted
anonymous
org
100.
underscore
Thank you very
anti-fascist
much,
subscription.
anonymous gifter.
Dave and Accounting
You are
gifted
as
a tier 1 sub to
generous as you are
NTR
mysterious.
Thank
Appreciate
you
that.
guys. Thank you so
Really?
much.
Spared no
Yeah.
expense.
Dave and Accounting gifted
super
Mackie
cool.
a subscription.
Here,
Dave and
talk about this a little bit
Accounting
more.
gifted a tier 1 sub to Mackie.
Drilling for oil in the
But
land.
the
blah,
paleontologist
blah,
field
blah.
isn't narrow to what we understand. On the
1913,
contrary,
I was talking about
stretch our
that date.
understanding to try and
The
take
Hancock
in the
family
universe.
grants a 2-year exclusive right to the Los Angeles County Museum, now known as the Natural History Museum, to dig La Brea fossils. 1924, the land is donated to the County of Los Angeles. In 1977, this
But the
beautiful museum behind us,
paleontologist
the
field
Page
isn't narrow to what we
Museum,
understand.
opens to the
On the
public.
contrary, we stretch our understanding to try and take in the
I
universe.
wish we could go in today, but fortunately it's closed. And then today, research at La Brea Tar Pits at Museum advances our understanding of long-term climate change in our local environment. Pretty cool. And so if you were wondering what the excavations actually look like, how do you get bones out of the tar, this is what it used to look like here. It's much more organized and clean nowadays. Things are dug, with right angles
I
and
do call myself an expert in dinosaur
much greater
stuff.
precision, but back in the day, this is what these excavations looked like.
We got 100 bits from Nafron.
Thank you, Nafron. That's wonderful.
Damned
Awesome.
Logician.
Thank you,
Subbed at
Logician.
tier 1 for 7 months.
7 months, that's a long time. Thank you very much for your ongoing support. That's wonderful. Yeah.
And people are enjoying your notifications.
Awesome. I'm glad you're liking those. Yeah. On mobile streams like this, they could be a little bit, I don't know, I hope they're not too obtrusive. But, yeah. And I hope they're not too distracting from, trying to convey information and teach everybody about this stuff. But yeah. Anyway, shall we continue on and go see some of these other critters?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I think we'll probably end over there, and we'll do like a walk around up at the top.
Okay.
And we'll look at we'll look at that wonderful fresco there. For right now, let's take a stroll around the lake pit. We'll go see that mastodon. We'll check out some giant ground sloth statues there. And yeah. I think there's a short-faced bear over there too. Oh, and actually, we got to check this out first. Why would there be a cone right in the middle of a field right here? It's because we have a tar seep just coming up right here. Check that out. Just right in the middle of this lawn over here. Got a tar seep. And let's see. Man, that is really sticky. It kind of reminds me of, what does that remind me of? Kind of like that sticky putty stuff that you would use to put up like glow-in-the-dark stars on your ceiling in your childhood bedroom. It's like that, but messier and dirtier. I mean, yeah.
I just don't want to get any on my shoes.
Your shoes are, you have black shoes. I don't know. My boots are game for anything. But yeah. And it's just, I can see how if you're working in this stuff, if you're excavating fossils here, this would just, I don't know, this would be the olfactory soundtrack for your life for a few weeks, I think. This is just what you'd smell like, Yeah. It'll ruin shoes at Circa? Okay, I bet you're right,
Do
yeah.
not sit on the grass. Someone said they took home a souvenir on their pants from La Brea from
Oh, really?
sitting on the grass.
That's funny. I wouldn't mind having a souvenir like that. Like, Danny, what happened to your pants? Like, the same force that killed all of these Pleistocene mammals also ruined my shorts.
And you escaped.
And I alone escaped to tell the tale.
Crucifixion gave us 200 bits.
Thank you for those bits. Really appreciate
We
that.
also got a
Thanks,
hydrate.
Silent.
Do you want to sit?
Yeah, let me get some water real quick. Well, you know what? Actually, that water looks so something's just drawing me toward it. I mean,
Oh gosh.
I could relate to all those animals getting stuck.
That's why we're looking for shade. Old Mama Dragon gave us 100 bits.
Thanks for that, Dragon. Really appreciate it. Old Mama Dragon, you must be fairly new around here. I don't recognize your username. I see you've got a sub badge there. Welcome to the channel. I hope you've been having a good time. We have some human herbivory going on over there. Is that like an electric scythe? Or is it just a big weed whacker? I guess what is a weed whacker but an electric scythe? Very cool. 5 million fossils from the past 55,000 years make La Brea Tar Pits and Museum the world's most important site for Ice Age fossils. Very cool. And there's our saber-toothed cat. Our state fossil here in California. Smilodon fatalis. Very cool. Saber-toothed cats had powerful limbs to ambush prey, but not even they could leap free from the tar, says the sign. Yeah. Very cool. Hopefully, if I'm able to wrangle enough signal when we get back to Berkeley and back to Oakland, I can show you a Smilodon skeletal mount at the University of California Museum of Paleontology. We'll see about that. Maybe I could do that next week or the week after, before the data runs out. There's an American mastodon over there, kind of a smaller one. Might be like a teenager. Tramping on down. Go check out what's going on over here, and I don't know. Might not go super well for him. But yeah, I wish we could get a little closer, but I think we're not supposed to be over here. Yeah. But very cool. I like the big tuft of hair on his like shoulder withers there to differentiate him from the Columbian mammoths. Mastodon, that would be Mammut americanum, the American mammoth. American mastodon, excuse me. Pretty neat. So we had at least 3 big species of proboscidean alive at the time. Maybe even more. But yeah, let's go on over here and we'll check out... I think that's a short-faced bear statue over there. Yeah, let's go say hello to the bear.
Do birds still get trapped in the tar pit?
They do, yeah. I remember reading an account from a paleontologist. He talked about like visiting La Brea when he was a kid, and like you'd see little bits of like feathers and stuff sticking out. So birds still get trapped every once in a while. Here's a little fence right over here. This is where more asphalt is coming up. This is much more dry, but they still don't want people walking on it. Yeah. There's a cone over here. The cone must have been put down because, look, this is higher than the rest of the grass. You can see how it really pushes up. Pushes up from the ground. It's like a little hill right here. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. And you can see people have been taking bits of it, like slapping it on here. People were writing their names on the trees and stuff with the liquid asphalt. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty cool. All right, there's that bear. I betcha that's supposed to be a short-faced bear, genus Arctodus. But we'll see. I'm only saying that because its snout looks kind of short. But maybe it's a cave bear, or maybe it's just a grizzly. I don't know. We will go investigate. What do you think, Laurdee? What's your guess?
Between what, a short-faced bear and what?
And a cave bear and just a normal old grizzly. It's a little too big to be a grizzly.
I think it's a short-faced bear, because that shaped face looks short.
I think you're right. We'll find out.
I'm using my context clues.
All right. Yeah, looks much bigger up close.
Were the short-faced bears the ones that may have kept humans out of America for so long?
I don't think so. I I've never heard a story about that. I'm not sure. Whoever's asking that might know more about it than I do. I don't know. But yeah, look at that. We've got an LA skyscraper there in the background to remind you that we are in the heart of downtown Los Angeles right now. But yeah, pretty big.
You're not doing
pretty
so
big
bad.
animal here.
That's for paleontologists.
Let's see if I can get up here. There we are. I'm taller than Laurdee for once. Yeah, there we are. Pretty cool. Yeah. Very, very neat. So yeah, short-faced bears like this, genus Arctodus, if I remember correctly. They've got longer limbs than most bears around today. They've got those, look at those big long arms and legs. So they're often, I don't know, they've often been portrayed like running quickly after prey to like chase down and eat horses and stuff like that. I think the modern consensus is they didn't eat nearly as much meat as we once thought. They weren't like pursuit predators. They mostly ate what modern bears do. They're walking around eating roots and tubers and plants, like mostly vegetative material. And then, you know, occasional bugs and, you know, they might chase down an animal and kill it if they're really hungry and need the protein. For the most part, big old plant eaters. Yeah. Pretty cool. I like how they really kind of emphasize the short face part of short face.
A real dinosaur?
They really gave him the it's like the bear version of a pug almost.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. That's cool. Oh, and I love these cones here. I've never seen cones with this phrasing on them before. Tar pits. That's wonderful. That's really great. We're in a special place here. This is pretty neat. And this is really cool. Wow, I wasn't expecting...
we didn't see this.
We didn't see this earlier.
Things out.
Yeah. Welcome to the Page Museum's Pleistocene Garden. The Pleistocene epoch, from 10,000 to 1.9 million years ago, was when the last ice age took place. Enjoy its beauties, experience these prehistoric habitats from 3 unique perspectives: extinct ice age animals, ancient cultures of the Los Angeles basin, and a modern conservationist, which is the Richard Simon Garden. Pretty neat. So I think the idea here is that the plants that we see before us are ones that also existed here during the Pleistocene, and we find bits and pieces of them in the pits themselves. Pretty cool. I, of course, am not a trained botanist or anything. I can't tell you too much about these plants. So we will look at the signs over here. Yeah. Oh, riparian. This is like a riverine environment. Riparian plants thrive on the fringes of stream margins in the Los Angeles basin during the Pleistocene. The water sustained quick-growing plants and trees that characterize this ecosystem. Sycamore, oak, and buckeye were the most common trees, with an undergrowth of raspberry, small herbs, and brush. The water, when available, would have attracted most of the inhabitants of the surrounding areas, whether browser, grazer, or predator. This habitat was home to smaller water-dependent animals like ducks, geese, frogs, rainbow trout, freshwater clams, snails, and insects. Large browsing herbivores, like the American mastodon and Shasta ground sloth, also use these areas as a primary food source. And there's the Shasta ground sloth right there. Nathrotheriopsis shastensis. And the taxonomy of ground sloths is like kind of a big old mess, so I wonder if this is still the name that we use for these critters. Nathrotheriopsis. I know Mylodon and Paramylodon and like all these other names for Harlan's giant ground sloth. Like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah. After the Ice Age, these same fast-growing water plants provided sustainable materials to ancient cultures for their housing, basketry, arrows, cordage, hunting poisons, and medicines. Fish from streams and acorns gathered from nearby oaks would have been a major protein source in these local diets. California buckeyes were sometimes used in years when the acorn harvest was poor. Interesting. I know, at least for the native peoples from the Bay Area, like the Ohlone tribe and other tribes in the area, they subsisted mostly on acorns for most of the year. There were these wonderful, like, gigantic forests of oak trees in the San Francisco Bay Area that provided, habitat and food for all kinds of different creatures in the region, including people. You could grind up acorns to make all kinds of nutritious mush that you could, like, turn into, like, flatbreads and stuff like that, and porridge. And when, like, European explorers, when the Spanish first came to the Bay Area, like, they noted that the native diet was far more, like, healthy and filling than the stuff that they were eating. Like, with the amount of energy that you could get from these acorn porridges or breads, like, you could work all day and not get hungry. It's kind of a shame that we don't really use acorns like that today. Because it's just not profitable in the same way that other stuff is. And buckeye, isn't that a big thing in Ohio, laurdee?
Yeah, but aren't they poisonous? Are they not?
No, I mean, I think you have to cure them properly. Just like with acorns, you have to bleach stuff out of them. So, like, there's a certain way that you prepare it in order to make it edible, so it won't upset your stomach or anything. But I thought that was a big thing that people ate in Ohio as well.
Well, they're a candy
They're a candy.
that look like the nut.
Okay.
The buckeye
People
nut.
don't eat the actual nut, though?
I don't think. I was always told not to because it would make you sick. That might
Interesting.
have just been
Okay.
my mom, being afraid.
Well, it might also just be like nobody cures them properly anymore, or something like that. Yeah. Cool. So what has happened with this environment? Natural plant gardens are rarely seen today in Southern California because many people have chosen to fill local landscapes with trees and bushes that create the look of a tropical paradise or a European garden. For instance, the many eucalyptus and palm trees found throughout Southern California are not native plants. They were brought here from other parts of the world during the past 150 years. By changing the look of our natural landscape, we also change the feel, smell, and even sound of our ecosystem. We lose touch with the natural environment, a place where the early inhabitants made their home. Yeah, this is really interesting because as a kid growing up north of here in the Bay Area, eucalyptus trees were a big part of my childhood. And those were imported from Australia, about 150 years ago. So they're not naturally part of the California landscape. Interesting too how they said, like, trying to mimic the look of a European garden for people, like, doing landscaping in these areas. The whole concept of, like, having a front lawn, like with grass out in front of your house. I remember reading that wasn't really a thing until the, like, super wealthy industrialist Andrew Carnegie made it a thing. He grew up in Scotland and came to the US and, became fantastically wealthy. And he created this great big castle up in New York. I forget what it was called, but he had these great big expanses of land with just lush green grass. I think it was imported from Scotland because he wanted it to look like his native Scotland. Scotland is, of course, where, like, golf started. So, like, having great big green lawns like that was, that was a very Scottish thing. Didn't exist here in the United States until Andrew Carnegie brought that here for his, big elaborate, like, compound. And lots of people wanted to emulate that. They wanted to copy him because he's, like, this big important guy with all this money. And that's apparently how the front lawn was born here in the United States. We might have some, like, horticulturalists or, people interested in, like, conservation of plants and that kind of thing in chat who are just going, lawns! They use so much water and they use land that could go to native plants to help sustain native species and stuff, but instead it's basically like, it's like a little green desert.
So Spartan Zero just gifted 10 subs.
Anyway.
So Spartan gave me 10 mystery gift subs.
Holy cow, Spartan. Really appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Wonderful. Spartan, thank you for your support. That means a lot. 10 is a lot. Thank you for that. Holy moly. Yeah. Gregory says lawns are a terrible burden here in Texas. They are here in California, too. Going through another bad drought here. And, lawns use way too much water. But yeah. And paramedics underground. Indonesia is set to open a tourist park. I have no idea, paramedics. I'd have to look into that. Probably animatronics or something like that. Yeah. And Dorky on TV says, where do we get to see where Arnold fell in the tar in The Last Action Hero? That would probably be over in the lake that we were looking at earlier. We'll walk by there again so you can take a look. But yeah.
When we are done in here, let's go back to the... And maybe just explain how the pits got here and how people get fossils out, because people are asking that.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. And we'll walk past where they've got the big blocks over there.
Yeah.
So yeah. We're gonna skip that sign and we will continue on and talk about the tar pits and the various animals that existed here and got stuck. And I'll show you some of those critters. The sloths are over here. They're always fun to see. Oh, there's another big pit over there that is all fenced off, because they don't want anybody wandering off into it and getting stuck. But we'll go take a look at that. This is pits 3, 4, and 61/67. I forget how many pits are here. I think it's about 40 something. But here we go. These 3 tar pits are ages apart. Interesting. It shows that this is a dynamic environment. Like, pits are emerging and then getting covered up. But inside this fence are 3 old pits that were dug from 1913 to 1915. Because asphalt oozes, stops, and bubbles up someplace new, these 3 pits contain fossils from different time periods. Animals that died within a few feet of where you were standing may have actually lived 20,000 years apart. Pretty cool. So the majority of fossils from these 3 pits range from 13,000, that would be like late Pleistocene, almost latest Pleistocene, to 35,000 years old. We excavated these pits from 1913 to 1915. We later found that pits 61 and 67 contained parts of one big fossil deposit, so 61 and 67 became one pit. 61/67. Cool. Very neat. And you can see the seeps over there. I mean, it's kind of easy to imagine animals walking in and getting stuck. Yeah. Oh, and this is something we were asked about earlier. The oil field that underlies La Brea is about 1,000 feet deep. Pressure forces some of the thick oil, asphalt, upward. As deep underground layers shift, cracks form in the overlaying rock layers. Asphalt and methane gas ooze and bubble up through these vents. You can see that right there. There is a place where it's oozing up. And you can probably see better than I can right now, Scott. Yeah. So over many thousands of years, sand and soil wash down from the mountains. This seals off the seeps and protects the fossils trapped inside. So you've got the pits open and exposed. Creatures, wander in, they get stuck. And later, you have deposition that occurs and kind of buries this, seals it off. Methane gas continues to bubble up, churning the bones from different animals and time periods into complex jumbles. Right there. And no 2 pits are alike. A juniper fossil tree from pit 3 is about 17,000 years old. Pit 4 has saber-toothed cat bones from 35,000 years ago. And pit 61/67, most of the fossils there are about 13,000 years old. One of the youngest fossils here belonged to a dog that lived 7,000 years ago. Really cool. Have we gotten a question yet as to whether there are any human remains in the La Brea tar pits?
We have not.
That.
And I didn't even
That's an interesting story.
One. Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, there's at least one. Yeah, somebody can look it up. I love this. Meet Ice Age LA's hook-billed monster bird. This is a Teratorn bird. Teratornus merriami. John C. Merriam is an important figure in the history of the University of California Museum of Paleontology. I think I've talked about him before on the channel. There's a picture of him inside the museum in in the collections area in the back where the paleontologists work. And his eyes just kind of follow you as you walk around. It's pretty cool. So like every morning when I would go to work there, when I was in high school, when I was a volunteer at UCMP, you know, every morning go in, say hello to Dr. Merriam, and then you go about your business for the morning. Yeah, it's a photograph. It's just the eyes there. Yeah. Anyway, these cool birds, Teratorns, they've got a great big wingspan. Look at that, 10.5 foot wingspan. They're similar to modern condors, but they're not super closely related to them. It's a different genus entirely, Teratornis. Teratorns can fly as fast as 35 miles per hour, but couldn't lift off after stepping into La Brea's tar. Pretty cool. So a lot of these got stuck as they would alight down to feed on the other creatures that would get stuck in the tar. And so we've got a lot of Teratorn bones from the pits. Look, you can see over there the tar seeping up. And there's a lot of it over there. You can even see a little bit of bubbling, maybe. Unlike the lake, which has been filled in by groundwater and rainwater, this, you know, just looks like a little meadow or something. It's easy to imagine animals, like say a bison walking through and just pausing for a second to sniff the air. It starts to slowly sink down until it can't move anymore.
Is California the only place that has tar pits?
The only place that has tar pits like this that I know of, yeah. I'm sure there are other places in the world that, you know, they have liquid asphalt like this, but I don't know about them, though. It's hard to imagine this is the only one. I'm not sure. Right here's another little gated off area. It's supposed to be another place where the asphalt is seeping up. Yeah, you can see it's kind of hardened there. No, is that a manhole cover? It looks like a manhole cover, but it's also got asphalt around it. I don't know, there's something going on there. Yeah. And we'll go take a look at some of these sloths over here. Check these guys out. These are Paramylodon over here, Harlan's ground sloth. They're not the biggest ground sloth from North America. I think that honor goes to either Eremitherium or Megatherium. Probably Megatherium, Jefferson's giant ground sloth. But yeah, these guys, they've got a real kind of charisma to them. They are really, really neat. Give you a sense of scale right there. Pretty cool. Here, we might wait for these kids to move on before we go check out the sloths ourselves. But yeah, the giant ground sloth project that I would like to work on over the fall is that same kind of sloth, Paramylodon harlani, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they're about the size of like a small rhinoceros, like this. They are sweeties, huh? Oh. Very cool. Yeah, we have a giant ground sloth from downtown Berkeley, California, whose femur was dug up while they were excavating the downtown Berkeley BART station. It's just, you know, it was discovered in 1967. Howard Hutchinson was on the team that excavated it, and my goal is to make an exhibit based on this wonderful fossil from the heart of downtown Berkeley, to show it to the people. Oh.
Oh, he's hot.
Yeah. Well, what a cool animal. So these are related to modern tree sloths. I think this might be another situation kind of like with the elephants and the mammoths, where the two-toed tree sloth and the three-toed tree sloth, I think they are not each other's closest relatives. I think one of them is actually more closely related to ground sloths like this. Really neat. It's funny, these have been portrayed in so many different ways. There's like so many different choices that you could make and how you want to portray their soft tissue and their fur and everything. These ones, the way they're portrayed is almost kind of bear-like. They've got those external ears right there. Unlike modern sloths, don't have external ear flaps like that. Not that I know of. The face doesn't look particularly sloth-like. I'm going to be making some interesting...
Say beavery.
Kind of beavery? Yeah, kind of, yeah. These guys are totally unrelated to beavers, though. Sloths are xenarthran mammals, so they're related to, if I remember correctly, things like armadillos and aardwolves and, aardvarks and anteaters. I think those guys are all xenarthrans, unless some of them have moved around a little bit. My information might be a little bit outdated there. But yeah, xenarthrans like strange wrists, I think might be the xenarthrans. Strange joints. There we go. Like arthritis, the same root word. Arth. Strange jointed mammals, xenarthrans. Pretty cool. They've got this big, thick tail that would be used as a counterbalance for when they want to rear up on their hind limbs if they want to eat from some trees or something like that. And then they've got these massive, muscular forelimbs with these huge claws. This is not a super detailed sculpture, and I'm sure parts of it have been worn away by just thousands upon thousands of people touching it and hugging it like I did in that picture on Twitter earlier. But yeah, massive, massive claws for maybe scraping bark off of trees or for just pulling down branches, maybe for digging too. Some of these guys may have actually lived in burrows. There's massive burrows from South America that seem to be from Megatherium, one of the largest ground sloths. So that would be the largest burrowing mammal that we've ever had, at least to my knowledge. And those claws would also be really useful for defense against predators too. If you've got a saber-toothed cat or an American lion hassling you and you're a sloth, you just get them with those claws. So, yeah. Do you have any other questions right now?
No, just a general consensus not to make the sloth mad.
Yeah, wise, that's a wise assessment there, chat. Certainly.
Slightly unrelated question, but what's the word for an evolved trait in two species where the common ancestor did not have the trait?
That would be a...
Someone else answered it.
Is it a plesiomorphic trait, or is it a tapomorphic trait? I think that's an etapomorphy. Or an etapomorphic... I forget. It's been a while, everybody.
Javasaurus says convergent evolution.
No, that's not right. So convergent evolution would be two unrelated animals that... Oh, wait. Sorry, what was the prompt again?
What's the word for an evolved trait in two species where the common ancestor did not have that trait?
In two species where the common ancestor... I guess, yeah. Yeah, that would be... I think you'd call that a plesiomorphy. Or it could be an example of convergent evolution, sure, yeah. Yeah, if that's something that two different branches evolved independently, that would be convergence. Yeah. So yeah, you're right, Javasaurus. Yeah. Sorry, I was hearing the prompt incorrectly.
A couple more questions. Aren't there ground sloth caves in Colorado in like the Grand Canyon?
I think there are, yeah. That would be in Arizona for the Grand Canyon. Yeah, we were talking about that during the Grand Canyon stream, but yeah, I think so. At least they were caves that were inhabited by ground sloths at some point because we found their dung inside. But yeah.
Linned limes, probably a beginner question, but were trees significantly larger? If the sloths were that large, surely the trees were too.
Well, these are not tree sloths. That's the thing. These sloths lived on the ground. That's why we call them ground sloths. This is their natural habitat, just being here on the ground. And the trees back during the Pleistocene, we have trees that are almost that old that are still alive today. The Pleistocene is not that long ago. We're talking just a few thousand years ago, not millions of years ago. So there haven't been too many new kinds of trees that have evolved since then. I mean, yeah, we're mostly talking about not just similar trees, but like the same species lived back then that live today. So the whole reason that these guys went extinct is not because the vegetation changed all that drastically or anything. At least it's not really what we think. It seems to have been something more rapid than that. Could have a lot to do with the climate changing, becoming more warm and more dry, but I don't know. If you were to ask me, why do I think the Pleistocene megafauna died out? things like giant ground sloths and camels and horses and, mammoths and mastodons and all those guys. I would say I think it's probably because of the arrival of humans. Because anywhere around the world that you have like megafauna during the Pleistocene and then human beings show up, the megafauna, usually it's extinct almost immediately. It could be coincidence. It could be that the climate was changing and people spread out across the world and they happened to show up just when these animals were dying out naturally, or dying out because of changes in the climate. But the thing is, megafauna like this survived and adapted to lots and lots of changes in Earth's climate before the end of the Pleistocene. And there doesn't seem to be anything particularly super dramatic about the end Pleistocene climate changes. So I don't know. I think it's our fault. I think it's people. Because, as people spread out across the globe, anywhere they go,
They were
Europe,
too delicious.
Asia,
We couldn't have
or especially places like Australia, North and South America, megafauna just blinks out of existence within like a few hundred to maybe even, a few thousand to maybe even just a few hundred years after people show up. So yeah. But again, this is an ongoing controversy in Pleistocene paleontology. What caused the extinction of these mega mammals and other critters too? Yeah. I don't work on this stuff, so take my opinion with a massive grain of salt. But I don't know. For whatever it's worth, that's what I think is probably going on. Yeah.
Off-world object sub for 2 months.
Thank you, Off-World Object. Wonderful. Really appreciate that. Thanks for your support.
Maximus Midnight asks, but surely some of those megafauna survived and exist now.
They do. Only in places where they had time to adapt to human beings. Because where do you have big megafauna today? Africa is a great place where human beings first evolved. And, in that case, with like elephants, rhinoceroses, giraffes, they evolved alongside people, and so they had time to kind of adapt and learn that, you should avoid human beings at all costs. But other places, like in North America, where people walked across the Bering Land Bridge from Asia, just waltzed into North America, all these animals that had evolved here had never seen people before, had no idea that we were so dangerous, and didn't know to avoid us. And so it may just be like before that natural fear can be selected for, before these animals can really learn, and before that kind of fear gets becomes dominant in the gene pool, they just get hunted to extinction. And maybe they were already under stress from climate change, and it's just really easy to just push them off the edge. Any other questions or anything we got there? Cool. Anyway, like we were talking about when we were at the museum in Idaho Falls. Remember the bison latifrons skull that we saw there? That bison with the super, super long horns?
Yes.
Yeah. So those are one of many species of bison that lived here during the Pleistocene. It's only the smallest species of bison that actually survived. All the bigger ones, presumably with like longer gestation periods and like it would take them longer to repopulate after you had a bunch of them killed off, those are the ones that all went extinct. Again, it might be overhunting that did that. This is cool here. I'm excited to show you this. These are some big crates containing a whole bunch of matrix in there with lots and lots and lots of fossils preserved within. So these, I think, well, we'll take a look here. Project 23 recent finds. Very cool. I think these were excavated during the construction of the new parking garage. There's like an underground parking garage that's going in over here somewhere. And I'm pretty sure all of these crates came from that spot. This is all collectively called Project 23. So each one of these contains, I'm sure, hundreds, probably thousands of fossils in there. And, they'll vary in and how much material is in each one, like how many fossils you'll actually get out of each crate, because it's not like uniform. The fossils are not uniform in the way that they're distributed through the tar. But yeah, pretty neat. I love that they actually labeled these for people to see. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And a reminder of the ongoing work that's here. Each wooden crate you see before you contains fossils. These fossils were found a few hundred yards from here during parking lot construction for the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. We open these crates one by one to excavate the fossils. With each crate opened, we add to our understanding of Ice Age LA. Very cool. This is neat. So, LACMA crew finds fossils. Los Angeles County Museum of Art. Construction crews worked with paleontologists to save as many fossils as possible. Backhoe operators scraped off 1 foot of sediment at a time, while paleontologists watched for fossils. They found rich fossil deposits at depths of 10 to 30 feet. Paleontologists supervised dig. Paleontologists studied each fossil to find where it started and stopped. They showed heavy equipment operators where to trench around each group of fossils, and then carefully dug under each one by hand. So this is kind of like we do when we're making a fossil jacket when we're digging up dinosaurs. You've got to like isolate the element that you want, and you have to trench around it and underneath it. And yeah, I wonder if they had to flip it at any point, like we have to flip our fossil jackets.
Are they really fossils or just preserved bone?
That's a great question. We talked about this a little bit earlier. The term that I hear a lot for stuff for material from La Brea is subfossils. So these are things that are old enough to be considered fossils, but they're not really permineralized in the same way that like dinosaur fossils are. They're not like partly petrified or however you want to put it. They are preserved, like sealed in the tar, but they're not like your traditional fossil that you find in sedimentary rocks, if that makes sense. Yeah. So after all that's isolated, it says carpenters crate fossils. Carpenters worked with paleontologists to enclose each fossil block in custom crates. No two fossil deposits are the same. Some fit one crate, some need several. Fossil-rich sediment that became loose in the process was also saved in buckets. We saw a bunch of those buckets right there. Look like metal buckets. I guess they would have to be to be able to withstand all this stuff. Fossils filled 23 crates. Cranes hoisted the 23 tree boxes onto trucks that brought them here from the LACMA construction site. Each crate was labeled with the numbered fossil deposit it contains. Box 1 contains the first fossil deposit found. Box 4 the fourth. Box 7A to 7E, parts of the 7th, and so on. And then the real dig begins. Paleontologists and trained volunteers from the Tar Pits Museum begin digging through these crates in 2008. We don't know how long it will take, but we do know that every unopened crate you see contains surprising discoveries. So this is ongoing science. And I've heard that after all of these are gone through, properly excavated and everything, this should effectively double the size of the museum's collections. So there are as many fossils sitting in these right now as they have in the entire museum right now. That's what they think anyway. Pretty cool. You can see right there, these are a lot of the same tools that I use in the field. I see what looks like a Vinac bottle in there. I don't know if you can see in the camera, but look inside that crate that's been opened up. That's where somebody would be working if everything were open today. I see a butt pad right there like we use in the field. Or I guess like a gardening knee pad, as normal people would call it. And there, all kinds of little tools and everything. And it looks like they've got a big like dust collector thing there too. Very neat. So when I was telling you that this process is a lot more organized and clean and neat than it used to be, this is what I'm talking about, Yeah. It's cool that this is actually mobile too. They could bring that indoors if they really want to. And I'm sure they've got some of these indoors to work on, which is really cool.
There's some talk about the makeup of these fossils. There's a lot of their original protein and chemical makeup still there, isn't it? I
think so, yeah. In fact, actually, this over here, this sign was talking about a DNA project, where I guess they're looking for bits of genetic material. Let's take a look at that. Because unlike...
Well, Javasaurus says that their studies he's looking at right now, they've gotten access to protein data.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Let's see. Ancient DNA project. We found new coyote and direwolf teeth and jaws without using chemicals in box 9. Specimens sent to the University of Oklahoma and their genetics team attempted to extract DNA from fossils about 40,000 years old. No previous team has been successful. Interesting. Interesting. And that's pretty neat. These are some recent finds from this box. We've got, proximal ulna. So like your funny bone from Paramylodon, from that same giant ground sloth we were looking at earlier. We've got a jaw. It's funny they call it the denary. Usually it's called the mandible in mammals. It's like almost using dinosaur terms right there. Lower jaw of a saber-toothed cat. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay.
I've got some questions for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever dug at the pits?
No, I've never dug here. I've never actually been here before. This is my first time. I work on dinosaurs, so I haven't really done any mammal stuff in the past. No. Yeah.
They found a pretty complete Columbian mammoth through this project, right?
They did, yeah. I want to say it was a juvenile mammoth, but sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's still ongoing too. That'll probably make a really cool mounted skeleton because I think they've got most of it there. So, yeah.
Okay, that's what I got.
Cool. All right, let's continue on. I love that they've actually paid like close attention to the aesthetics here. Like they wanted everything to look good. They picked out their fonts.
Oh yeah, that looks great.
The colors there. All of this is cool. It's a very thoughtful kind of thing. Oh, and here's yesterday's camel, as they're calling it here. I've never heard this common name for this animal. Yesterday's camel. It makes it just a little bit more relatable. These big old camels that lived right here in North America. Today, people don't really associate camels with the North American continent, but camels first evolved here. And they later spread out down to South America, where they became things like llamas and, guanacos and vicuñas, which domesticated became llamas and alpacas. But yeah, Camelidae originated right here in North America, and then they went extinct, kind of like horses. Yesterday's camels were fast runners, but not with their feet stuck in tar. And new research suggests that these guys were more closely related to today's camels than to llamas. That's interesting. Yeah. Scientists think these guys could sprint at 40 miles per hour, much like their modern camel cousins. Camels are surprisingly fast. And you can go into the museum to see a skeleton of one of these guys, which is pretty neat. And here we've got a lovely tent over here, where they're actually digging through. They've got a plaster jacket right there, it looks like. Yeah, and a pretty new one. It's not like all scuffed looking like our jackets from the field usually are. I guess it didn't have to travel far.
You can tell LA has great weather because
Exactly,
they put their
yeah.
exhibit outside.
That's a good point. Very cool. Also crate 14. Very nice. You gotta love the graphic design that went into that. Like this is some good stuff. Pretty neat. So if we were here on a day that it was open, we'd probably see people working on this right now. And this might be difficult to see with the shadows across it like that, but yeah. Pretty cool. That's what work looks like today on this stuff. And I guess they put this sign here so that people could read the sign rather than like yelling at the people in here asking questions. It says, "Who are you?" We are full-time museum staff with earth science and paleontology backgrounds. We are fascinated by fossils, and we're assisted by dozens of equally fascinated volunteers.
Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
Pontius Pirate
What are you doing?
gifted
How long does it
Yanavite a
take?
subscription.
Why does it take so long?
Pontius Pirate
Where are the
gifted a
fossils
tier
go?
1 sub to Yanavite. They
Pretty
have
cool.
given 32
Pretty
gift
cool.
subs
I
on
love
the
that this is
channel.
an on-site museum like this. I mean, that's pretty rare. Yeah.
Pontius Pirate gave a gift to Yanavite.
Thank you, Pontius Pirate. Really appreciate that gift sub.
And Izzy wants to know if she can use a deep dive on this place.
Oh, on the Brea? Maybe, yeah. If I have time, along with like a lot of the other stuff that we saw on this trip, I'd like to make a video about this and post it to YouTube, which I think would be neat. But yeah. We didn't really have a chance to look at this, did we? Yeah. Here we've got a spotlight on A ground sloth here. That's probably Harlan's ground sloth again. Paramylodon harlani. Oh, that big ridiculous face.
Question.
Uh-huh.
Have you been to Liberty Science Center in New Jersey?
Never, no, I haven't. Never spent much time in New Jersey.
Have they ever found any dino fossils in the pits then?
No, these are far, far, far too young to have any dinosaur fossils, except for birds. But no non-avian dinosaurs. These pits have only been here for about 100,000 years, and the last of the non-bird dinosaurs died out 66 million years ago. So, yeah, these are effectively 66 million, start that over. These are effectively 66 million years too late to have captured any dinosaurs. Except for birds, like that Teratorn that we saw. It says, meet Ice Age LA's well-armored gentle giant. Ground sloths were tough enough to shake off some big predators, but couldn't get loose from the tar. Very cool. And they had bony armor hidden in their skin. I didn't know these guys had osteoderms, is that right? But there is one of the pits right here that they've fenced off so that we don't fall into it. But, yeah, pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. I know in a lot of paintings, like there's those famous Charles R. Knight paintings of the tar pits with like, you know, it just looks like a big soup that these animals are just kind of splashing around in and getting stuck. I doubt it would have looked like that in real life. It would have looked probably a lot more like this.
Wow, it's not the dinosaur.
It just kind of looks like solid ground. Maybe there's a little bit of water collected at the surface. There's leaves and sticks and crud just covering it. It just looks like a flat patch of land, and then an animal walking through would get stuck and then attract some predators and scavengers who would in turn get stuck, and then the cycle repeats itself. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Shall we continue on to like the main building and see those really cool frescoes over there and the sculptures?
Yes. We got 5 minutes of Dark Knight.
Holy cow! Thank you, Dark Knight. Appreciate that. Awesome. That's lovely. Again, I want to turn the camera and just remind you, we are in the heart of downtown LA right now. See those palm trees over there and those great big buildings. Wilshire Boulevard is just a short walk from us, right at the other edge of this park. So pretty cool. I mean, you know, the world's greatest site for Ice Age mammals, just right in the heart of downtown LA. It's pretty special. You don't hear people talking about that enough. It's really cool. LA gets a bad rap a lot of times. This is one of the coolest things about it. So I think this should be one of those things that gets talked about more, you know? People are listing off the good things about LA. Talk about La Brea. Really, really special place. Pretty cool. We'll walk past these sloths again. How many people do we have watching right now?
175.
Not bad. Wow. Awesome. We should do another quick intro by the sloth real quick before we forget. I'm sure we've got a lot of new people here. New people viewing, new people in chat. But here we are here with this lovely sculpture of a Harlan's ground sloth. For anybody who might be new here, we'll introduce ourselves real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm trying to put the camera in such a way so that it's in shadow. I don't know if that's really going to work. Kind of works, maybe. No, I'll just go like this. I'm Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. I don't work on mammals, so all this stuff is outside of my wheelhouse. But we're here in Los Angeles, and we had to visit Hancock Park, where the La Brea tar pits are located. So yeah. And this is laurdee.
Hi, I'm laurdee. I'm from Cooking with laurdee. You'll see me in chat. Usually I'm doing cooking content in my home. If you like eating, if you like cooking, if you like watching people eat or cook, follow me.
Yeah. I
have got some content for you. Or follow me on Instagram. I've been chronicling our trip.
Yeah, it's been really great.
Yeah, Cooking with laurdee. Give me a follow.
Please do. Seriously, she's worth a follow. But yeah, anyway, we've been on the midst of this great big road trip all across the American West, visiting different fossil sites and museums, and trying to stream whenever we can. It has been really awesome. This is a wonderful opportunity for science outreach. And yeah, as for somebody who, you know, whose ultimate goal is to establish a museum someday, it's been really cool to see all of these museums and kind of get a sense for their character and how they started and what they offer. It's been really instructive for me, and I hope it's been fun for you to watch too. And we're kind of nearing the end of our trip. We might be going to just one or two more museums before heading back to the Bay Area, so yeah,
we'll definitely be on tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Tomorrow is the Los Angeles Museum of Natural History. Oh, and by the way, that was, I think I already said it, but that was a Harlan's ground sloth. Really cool. I wish the lighting were a little bit better on it. But yeah, tomorrow we'll be at the Los Angeles Museum of Natural History, or as I've always known it, the LACM, the Los Angeles County Museum. They changed their name a little while back. I've not been there since 2013, not too long after they opened their renovated halls, but I was there for the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology meeting. We had our big, gala reception there on the first night at the museum, and that was really cool. But I've never been there strictly as a visitor, so I'm really excited to go there and show you around and show you some of these really cool dinosaurs that they've got on display. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really cool. So we're walking right now toward the actual museum over there, and I'll show you some of the really cool frescoes that they've got. What's it called? Is it a fresco? A fresco is a painting, right? This is like a bas relief, I don't know, like a wall sculpture? What do you call that? Is it just called a bas relief? I don't know.
I'm not exactly sure.
I'm not an art history major.
Have Pinky Giblets has kind words about the IRL streams, and then asks, I was wondering if any dinosaur bones have been recovered in areas with quicksand.
I worked at a site once that we thought might be a miring site, where some animals got stuck in some mud and died, but we no longer think that was the taphonomic mode for that site. We've got a different hypothesis, which is a lot better supported. There have to be, there are certainly some places where dinosaurs seem to have gotten stuck in the mud. I don't know about quicksand, though. I'm not sure how quicksand is defined. I don't know. Certainly mud, got some sites where dinosaurs got stuck in mud. You can usually tell by the way that they're preserved. So, if their limbs are kind of going straight down and they're preserved in 3D, that's a sign that they may have gotten mired there. But if they're all flat, like you find most dinosaur skeletons, they're just kind of flat on their side, all squashed, that's a different kind of burial. That's not being mired in place. So, yeah. And Kirsten, plenty of non-avian specimens too. Exactly. Really cool exhibit on urban nature in LA. Well, we'll see if maybe we can fit that in. We're going to be focusing on the dinosaurs, of course, but that other stuff sounds really interesting. Anyway, we're walking up this hill right now. Going up to this wonderful bas relief up here. Again, this looks like it's based on some Charles R. Knight paintings. They've got all kinds of cool stuff. I'll kind of walk you through. We've got a bison skull right there and some ribs at the bottom. Big teratorn birds, kind of like giant vultures. They're in this tree kind of watching the action unfold. And we've got a saber-toothed cat right there, Smilodon, watching this take place. Big Colombian mammoth has gotten stuck in the tar, and a Smilodon's come over to eat it and is getting stuck itself. Again, this is that predator trap in action. That teratorn is swooping down. Got some little horses back there, and a mammoth way off in the background, I guess. And a ground sloth, also making its way into the tar there, maybe looking for a drink. See that tongue sticking out?
Really spectacular. Spared no expense.
Might get stuck too.
Pontius Pirate gifted Makram
dire wolves there. I would think these would be more prominent in in this piece. These are the most common animal that we have, or the most common big mammal, at least, that we have from La Brea are dire wolves right there. Just under the tusks of this other big Columbian mammoth. Yeah. A little baby mammoth there too. There's an American lion up there as well. Pretty cool. And an elk. We have also got elk, I think, from the La Brea tar pits. Those are still around. Thule elk, I think, are pretty rare in California. I don't think they've been completely extirpated, but here they're making a comeback. Those are the same elk. Or no, that's a deer, sorry. What are elk but just big deer? They're also cervids. You know, trying to be accurate about this. Look at the awkward gait on this sloth here. Kind of love it. Yeah. This one looks a lot more, I don't know, a lot more natural. We've got some more horses here. North American horses. A lot of people don't realize that horses existed here during the Ice Age. Horses were not first introduced to North America by the Spanish. Horses originally evolved in North America. The whole horse lineage started here in North America, as far as we can tell. And these things thrived and diversified here in North America, and we've got horses, much like the horses that, like European horses, evolved from here in North America, and then they went extinct, along with these other magnificent, big old Ice Age mammals. It's odd to think of horses as being like an Ice Age mammal, but they were. Yeah, they were part of the North American Pleistocene megafauna. Then they went extinct, and so they were reintroduced by the Spanish, you could say, back around, I think it was like 1519. They were introduced to mainland North America. I think Columbus and his expedition first introduced horses to the Virgin Islands, but it wasn't until other Spanish guys brought horses over, it was like 1519 or something like that. They actually brought them to the mainland. Yeah, we've got a big old camel right there. Getting stuck in the tar, smiling on, looking on hungrily. And there's the dire wolves. This is their scene in the sun right here. And some bison right there. And Manuel M. Paz was the sculptor for this, apparently. Very cool. I love this. This is so neat. What a neat piece of architecture. So you've got all of this along the side here. Oh, and it doesn't repeat. It's different. Wow. I was assuming that... Oh, no, it does repeat. Okay. This one is different right here, but from there on it repeats. Cool. But yeah. Just a really...
Is there a name for reintroduced / feral horses over there?
They're called feral horses. I don't know. Mustangs?
No, we call them brumbies someplace.
Oh, that must be Australia.
That sounds Australian.
Sounds positively Australian, yeah. We call them Mustangs here in the U.S. And maybe in Canada, too. I'm not sure. I don't know if they ever made it that far north. But yeah. Horses that were once domestic and then went feral. And down here, in this lovely courtyard, got all these cool plants. I don't think these are supposed to be Pleistocene plants. Well, I mean, they were plants that would have existed during the Pleistocene, because basically all of today's plants, except for the domestic ones, did. Can you name any of these? I see some pretty charismatic plants down there that existed during the time of the dinosaurs. Can you spot any, Lordy?
I know you just told me the name of this fern, and I totally don't even remember it.
That's a different one, actually. That one over there, yeah.
The palm fern?
Tree fern.
Tree fern.
Yeah. I don't think tree ferns are actually like their own taxonomic group. I don't think phylogenetically they're distinct. I think it's just ferns that grow really tall get called tree ferns. Ones like Dicksonia antarctica and Cyathea cooperi, both from Australia and Tasmania. But what are those ones down there? You know those.
Well, I think Tropical Geek just gave it to me. She said ginkgo, which I see over there.
But there is a ginkgo tree over there, yeah. Let's get closer to it. But no, I'm talking about those ones. Yeah, the cycads. Those are Cycas revoluta, the most common cycad in cultivation. One of my very favorite plants.
They say they can't quite see the different plants.
Oh, you can't? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's a ginkgo right here. You can get close enough to almost touch it. Yeah. In fact, you can touch it. Very cool. This is a big one. These are very distinctive leaves on it.
If you asked, what is your knowledge on Smilodon?
I don't know a lot about Smilodon. I don't know. They're big old cats, big old saber fangs. We still don't really understand what those fangs were used for, or at least there's still contention about that. I don't know. I don't remember which cats they're most closely related to today. If I had to take a guess, I would say probably lions, probably genus Panthera, but I could definitely be wrong. Yeah, there's those beautiful cycads down there with those big old cones. Oh, and this is definitely a female ginkgo tree.
Oh, you know.
These are dioecious, so they have male and female individuals. You see those fruits? I don't know if you can see right there. They've got some fruits hanging down. And in like urban settings, when like urban arborists are establishing trees and stuff, and you want to plant some ginkgos, you want to do the male ones, because the female ones produce these really smelly fruits, fall down and rot, and apparently they smell terrible. They make a big mess. So this is definitely a female tree if she's got those fruits on her. And down there, look at those cycads. Wow, those are doing super well. Look at the big cones on them. These are female cycads. You can tell by the shape of the cone.
With the cone with the ball in the middle?
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
As opposed to the, like...
Yeah, as opposed to the fronds. Yeah. So yeah, that's a female right there. And I think those ones on the other side were males. They've got a much more elongate cone. There's a lovely tree fern right here. This looks like Cyathea cooperi, the Australian soft tree fern. I'd have to take a look at the trunk to see for sure. Cyathea cooperi's got a much more narrow, kind of elongate trunk than Dicksonia antarctica, which is the other really popular tree fern in cultivation. Pretty sure this is Cyathea cooperi. I know that is down there. Looks like it. And those ones there. Wouldn't you love your backyard to look like this?
Yeah.
This would be so awesome. Oh man, the inside of my apartment's going to look like this once I have more time to take care of my plants.
Yeah.
That
I know.
Ios has been watering.
Drought-resistant native plants.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Really
we'll do that.
need.
All right. I think we'll take a look at some plants over here, and then we'll go back to those statues, and then we might think about wrapping this up. Does that sound good?
Okay.
Cool. How long have we been going? What's our uptime right now?
2 hours. 2 hours, 10
Wow.
minutes.
Nice. And I don't feel quite as bad about not having to visit the museum itself, because we're walking on top of it right now. This is the roof.
I guess...
It's not that big. Like, I see there was the direwolf skull wall over there. I don't think we can see it from here. No, but like, between the trees there's some big glass window panes. And that's where the wall of direwolf skulls is, which is like the most famous set piece from the museum. But I don't know if there's really that much... I don't know, I don't want to be disparaging. But I feel like many of the main attractions are out here. So it's really cool to be able to see most of this stuff. I feel like we're still having a pretty good experience without actually getting to go inside the museum.
Look at how well these guys
I know.
Oh my gosh. Oh, beautiful. Gorgeous,
Really tall,
gorgeous.
too. I'm like hesitant to put the camera over the edge because it's a big drop, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty neat. Pretty neat.
You can apparently eat ginkgo seeds.
Can you? Interesting. Maybe we should look into that for
For
our Mesozoic cooking stream that we'll do eventually. If
I'd
you
love
still want to do that.
Yeah, of course I do.
I would love to do that. It would be really neat. Make an awesome YouTube video too. There's another one of those tree ferns. These are enormous. Really cool. So you can find them in southern Australia and in Tasmania too. Pretty neat. I wish we could walk around on there. But you know what? I would love to also take everybody at some point to the botanical gardens in San Francisco, where they have a whole like ancient plants exhibit, like a whole section of the garden that's all tree ferns and club mosses and cycads and horsetails and all kinds of beautiful stuff. I would love to be able to show you around there. So, I don't know, give me a 3 in chat if you like that idea, just to kind of gauge interest here. A tour of the botanical gardens with their, like, you know, ancient plant section. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Threes.
All right, I'm seeing a bunch of 3s. All right. Yeah. Anyway, let's go over to those sculptures, and I think we'll probably wrap up the stream over there. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if most of the footprint underneath us is actually collection space. They've got to have some place to store all of these. Like, as far as fossils go, at least compared to dinosaurs, like most of the stuff from La Brea is not that big, but there's so many pieces that it takes up a lot of space. And at Berkeley, they needed like overflow storage for all of their La Brea material, so they put it up in Sathard Tower, the big like bell tower on campus. 4 floors of that are devoted to the storage of Ice Age fossils, which is super cool. I'd love to be able to do a stream from there at some point, but I gotta talk to everybody at UCMP and make sure that's kosher first and get special access. It'd be a whole thing, so don't hold your breath on that. I'm not sure it could happen. But yeah, here, let's go check out these sculptures here. Ready? Yeah. That is pretty dire embrace there. Take a look at that. 2 Smilodon going at it. And this presumes that those big canines are going right into his shoulder. Yowza. Right into his neck. It's a fatal bite there, I would think. Ouch. Oh man. Get some F's in the chat for that Smilodon. Yowza. Bitey hugs exactly next to you. Yes, her dear. Oh man. Then we've got some American lions over here. One of the not quite as discussed, not discussed as often, big Pleistocene carnivores. Panthera atrox, the American lion. Pretty cool.
Tropical beef is confused about the American lion.
So these were, a species of big cat related to modern lions that lived here in North America during the Pleistocene. So these would have eaten things like North American horses and camels and bison and maybe even mammoths, maybe baby mammoths if they could get a hold of them. Yeah. Pretty neat. And I think they're roughly the size of, if not slightly larger than, African lions today. And we've got remains of them from here in the tar pits as well. So pretty cool if you ask me. What do you say we find a nice spot in the shade and we...
You want to sit maybe on the other side of that tree?
Yeah, we'll get a raid going.
There's a tree right over there.
Okay, we'll go to that tree. Right over there. And we will go ahead and wrap up this stream. And, yeah. This has been a lot of fun. I'm getting hungry, though. Are you getting hungry?
I'm a little hungry, too.
We're going to go get lunch after this. Yeah. Wow. Pretty neat. Right in the heart of downtown LA. You can hear the buses going by and cars honking their horns and stuff. Feel very lucky to be here. This has been, even if the museum was closed today, still really glad we came, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Set this down for a second. And we'll see who's live right now, whom we might pay a raid to. NASA is live. Are any of your cooking people live?
Nagine's on if you wanted to raid her, but Culinary Rewind's not on right now.
Okay.
Whoever you feel like.
Let's see here.
Everybody's saying thanks for the stream.
Yeah. How about Science with Balint? What's Balint working on? Some leafcutter ants working. Yeah, we'll go check out some ants, I think, with Balint. Let's do that.
Hi.
Hi there, how's it going?
Alright, is this recording for what?
Oh, this is for like some science outreach right now, doing some video for that. Yeah, we're just wrapping it up right now, actually. We're about to go.
Okay, do you guys have any permission from the museum to do this?
Oh, it's like a public park, so we checked on that in advance.
It's not a public park, this is a county park.
It's a county park?
It belongs to the county.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So every recording that you do here at the museum, you have to have permission from the county.
Oh, really?
Not from the museum. Not from the county, but from the museum.
Okay,
Alright.
yeah.
Well, we'll
Like
go
if
ahead and
it's
stop.
any professional, like if it's just
Yeah,
it's
this
a
is
recording,
just us, yeah.
We don't really mind, but
Yeah.
if it's something professional that is going to the media.
No,
we have
it's
to-
not. It's not doing that. No.
Okay.
This is just us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for talking to us. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
No problem.
Have a good afternoon.
Okay.
All right. So let's go ahead and get that worked out. Go to chat here. Let's see. We're there. Oh, come on. It's not cooperating. Science with Balint. Science with Balint. Cool. I don't know if that worked properly because I'm not seeing any.
I'm not seeing it.
Maybe I spelled it wrong. Is there an underscore or something?
Yes, science
Okay.
underscore with underscore Balint.
There we go. Science underscore with underscore Balint. There we go. Did that work?
No, you didn't do slash grade.
You're right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Science underscore with underscore Balint. There we go. All right.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. It has been great to be able to share this amazing place with you. And if you ever find yourself in Los Angeles, California, or anywhere nearby, make sure that you take the time to come visit the La Brea Tar Pits and the George C. Page Museum of Fossil Discoveries. I think you will really enjoy it. And tell them that Danny Anduza sent you. Yeah. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and raid Balint. He's working with some ants, more awesome science content. And, all right, I'll see you tomorrow, guys. You have a great rest of your day. And join us at the Los Angeles Museum of Natural History tomorrow. All right. See you later. Bye-bye.
There we go.
Okay, and let me wrap this up. It's not loading. Come on.